Audio check, 1, 2, 3, 4.
where it was this morning.
Agenda room, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioner Pullman. Can you hear us?
Good morning, Madam Chair. I can.
Great. Normally we're 1 or 2 minutes over.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. All right. It is 10:15 a.m. and all the commissioners are present, so we'll begin the agenda meeting for today, Wednesday, August 21st. I would ask those who are participating on the call to please mute your phone unless you need to speak. Before we get started today, we have 2 new team members joining us. First, I'd like to turn it over to Lloyd Wilson to introduce Adrian Tucker.
Good morning, Commissioners. We'll come over here so we can be seen on camera.
Absolutely.
Very happy to introduce Adrian Tucker. She's our new Human Resources Generalist. And Adrian comes from a background that's near and dear to my heart. As you guys know, I'm involved in agriculture all my life. And she's from a farm in Calaveras County, a cattle farm. And I always love hiring farm kids because 8 to 5 doesn't mean a thing to them. They understand how to work hard and they'll do anything to keep them going back. She's got an interesting background though. She was in Mizzou and graduated from the College of Agriculture. She was at marching Mizzou and Mizzou 4-H. And then she went out to Wyoming and had a few jobs out there, but she called herself a cowboy. Is the word you used.
I did.
She also worked as a roustabout in an oil field. So we've got a good hard worker on our hands. And I'm very pleased to have her. So welcome, Adrian.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Have
Welcome.
a good rest of your day, guys, and I'll be down on 2.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Adrian. We also have a new attorney on our hands, so I'll turn over to Mark Johnson, there he is, to introduce Andrea Hansen.
Well, Commission, good morning. Happy to introduce you, Andrea Hansen, our newest attorney down in Staff Council. She's joining us as legal counsel, but she took a bit of a circuitous route to get here. She got her undergrad in Hawaii, a law degree in Boston, then she practiced in Kansas City for a bit at Legal Aid, and most recently worked for a firm in South Carolina relating to appraisal of utility property and a few other things. So we're very excited to have her, especially excited to have somebody with a little bit of background in utilities. And so that's that.
Wonderful. Welcome to the Midwest.
Thank you.
Excited to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are withdrawing order number 2 today, so there are 4 tariffs and new orders and 1 other discussion. But first, we need to approve the minutes from the August 14th, 2024 agenda. Those minutes have been provided in advance. Commissioners, are there any changes or modifications to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? By a vote of 5 to 0, those minutes are approved. The first tariff renewal order today is in file number GE-2024-0345 in the matter of the application of Summit Natural Gas of Missouri for a variance from the provisions of Commission Rule 20 CSR 4240-10.03019 to revise its meter testing program. On May 24th, Summit filed an application requesting a permanent expansion and continuation of its meter sampling program, an extension of its meter testing catch-up program, and a waiver of the Commission's 60-day notice requirement. On July 26th, staff made a filing and recommended that the Commission approve Summit's application, subject to a condition that requires Summit to provide annual reports and retain this information so that it can be provided to staff upon request for future rate cases. Summit responded that it did not object to staff's recommended condition and no other responses were received. Therefore, the order before us grants Summit's application subject to staff's recommended condition. With that, I recommend we approve the order version number 3. Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman,
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer,
I support the order.
Commissioner Mitchell.
I support the order.
All those in favor of approving this order, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? By a vote of 5-0, that order is approved. Again, the second tariff renew order today was withdrawn because the company withdrew the tariff filing. So the third tariff renew order today is in file number ER-2021-0312, and the matter of the request of the Empire District Electric Company, DBA Liberty, for authority to file tariffs increasing rates for electric service provided to customers in its Missouri service area. On August 1st, Liberty filed a tariff sheet to update its Renewable Energy Purchase Program, or REP rate, to reflect the Renewable Energy Credit, or REC rate, for the 12-month period ending March 2024. Liberty's REP, REPP, was approved and placed into effect on June 1st of 2022 and allows non-residential customers the opportunity to voluntarily offset their carbon emissions through the purchase of RECs. Under the program, Liberty is required to perform a quarterly review of its REC sales and rate. If the REC rate is outside of the 5% threshold, Liberty must recalculate the rate as the weighted average price for the most recent 12-month ending period. Staff made a filing and recommended the commission approve the tariff sheet and direct Liberty to continue to provide its supporting work papers with its quarterly reviews. None of the responses were received. Therefore, the order before us approves Liberty's tariff sheet and directs Liberty to include its supporting work papers and its quarterly reviews. With that, I recommend we approve the order version number 1. Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
Commissioner Holzman,
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer,
I support the order.
Commissioner Mitchell.
I support the order.
All those in favor of approving this order, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? By a vote of 5-0, that order is approved. Fourth tariff and new order today deals with 2 cases. File number WC-2023-0353, staff of the PSC versus Mr. Blevins, and file number WO-2024-0036, and the matter of the petition for an interim receiver for an order directing the general counsel to petition the circuit court for the appointment of a receiver for Misty Waterworks. On April 10th of 2023, staff filed a formal complaint against a water system owned and operated by Mr. Blevins. Staff's complaint alleged Mr. Blevins was operating the water system without a certificate from the commission and that Mr. Blevins was failing to provide safe and adequate service. Approximately 4 months later, in August of 2023, staff filed a petition for receivership and stated that staff continued to receive complaints from customers of Mr. Blevins systems and regarding managerial and operational problems. The commission held a hearing on October 25th and 26th of 23 regarding staff's request for a receiver. Staff, Mr. Blevins, and several witnesses from DNR provided testimony. DNR indicated that it had concerns with Mr. Blevins systems, but it was still in stages of working with Mr. Blevins on corrective actions. The commission ordered staff to file status reports on the progress of Mr. Blevins' corrective actions. On June 24th and 25th of this year, the commission held a hearing on staff's complaint against Mr. Blevins for owning and operating a water system without a certificate and further failing to provide safe and adequate service. Staff, Mr. Blevins, and DNR, and a current customer of Mr. Blevins' system provided testimony. At the hearing, Mr. Blevins testified that although he had previously filed an application seeking a certificate from the commission, Mr. Blevins was withdrawing his application and did not want to pursue getting a certificate. Testimony from DNR stated that some of Mr. Blevins' wells were under DNR enforcement action because of positive E. coli test and failure to take corrective actions. So the order before us authorizes and directs the general counsel of the commission to file a petition for an order attaching the assets of the Blevins water systems and placing the water utility system under the control and responsibility of a receiver in the appropriate circuit courts. Before we go on, I think for me, hearing both cases, there are some notable differences between the actions of Mr. Blevins from the first case to the second case. In the first case, Mr. Blevins was seeking a CCN to operate the system legally. His systems are defined as a water system operating for gain, even if he is not making a profit. He was also trying to get in compliance with DNR requirements and trying to figure out schedules for doing so. And he had a certified operator to operate the systems. But in the most recent case, he withdrew his CCN application. He said he generally couldn't meet the DNR requirements, and he no longer had a certified operator. To put a system in receivership, the statute requires that the person be either unable or unwilling. In the first hearing, Mr. Blevins did not seem either unable or unwilling, though I think in the second hearing, he was potentially both unable and unwilling. So with that, I don't take putting a property or properties into receivership lightly, but I do think it's in the interest of the public. So with that, Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order, Madam Chairman.
Commissioner Holzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that this is not an easy case and that you particularly had given Mr. Blevins every opportunity to try and demonstrate competency and a direction towards compliance. And I think that really when we lost the direction towards compliance, that's when this became a little bit clearer as to what was in the best interest of the residents who are in that system. And so with that, I'll be supporting the order for receivership.
Thank you. Commissioner Kolkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I didn't realize this was as big a problem as what it was, and or dealt with as many systems as it really does. I last year in October, I thought we were just talking about a small handful, but this is much bigger. And I'm concerned about the quality of water as much as I am the compliance on our side. I don't think he is getting quality water to these people. So yes, no, we don't take this lightly that we're putting these systems into receivership, but we have to look out for the public. And I think for the public's interest, putting these in receivership is our best option.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in my mind, it is important to be in compliance with the regulation and to provide water service on a legal basis. But I think it's even more important that we strive to eliminate every public health risk that we can. And in my experience, contamination of the public water supply with E. coli is unacceptable for any size system. And I think we not only have a legal obligation here to protect customers They have a right to receive quality water and the water that they're paying for. But I think we also have an obligation to protect the public interest and the public good. And I think Mr. Blevins has demonstrated through his previous actions. And I think maybe the one that was most eye-opening to me was the thought of breaking the systems up into small pieces, which to me appeared to be a tactic to evade regulation. So I really don't see that we have any other choice. It is a serious matter, and I don't think we have any other choice than to take this action. So with that, I support the order.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this order, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? By a vote of 5-0, that order is approved. The fifth tariff-in order today is in file number EF-2024-0021 in the matter of the petition of Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri, for a financing order authorizing the issue of securitized utility tariff bonds for energy transition costs relating to Rush Island. On August 6th of this year, the Commission issued its amended reporting order regarding Ameren's request for a financing order that authorizes the issuance of securitized utility tariff bonds. That amended reporting order became effective on August 17th, and OPC timely filed an application for rehearing. Section 386-500 RISMO indicates the Commission shall grant an application for rehearing if, in the Commission's judgment, there is reason to do so. After reviewing OPC's filing, it is the Commission's judgment there is not sufficient reason to rehear the amended reporting order, and thus the order before us denies OPC's application for rehearing. I would just like to first talk through OPC's request for rehearing. They highlighted two particular items in their request. One was the carrying cost, and two was the inclusion of 50% of Homestead and Moore's testimony. I do find it interesting that the request for rehearing on the carrying cost was actually based on a suggestion from OPC. As Ameren had requested, the carrying cost be at the weighted average cost to capital, which had never been awarded in a prior securitization case. The staff position was the long-term debt rate of 4.05%, but that rate was actually too low and not reflective of the current long-term debt rate. OPC's position was 0%, but no higher, in the alternative, but no higher than the rate on the securitization bonds. The Commission approved a rate of a carrying cost of 5.591%, which was the securitization bond rate included in Ameren's application. So that's how the Commission arrived at that decision. Just to like to highlight the second item, which was included in OPC's request for a rehearing, was the Homestead and Moore testimony. Staff had brought up previously that Homestead and Moore may need to testify on particular issues, or it may be a subject that could be brought up in a future case. It wasn't specific if it would be a rate case or the securitization proceeding. I agree with OPC in the fact the statute does not require us to make that decision, but knowing that Ameren needed to be prepared for any issue that was brought up and could be decided by the Commission, I also don't fault Ameren for preparing adequately for the securitization hearing and having Homestead Moore testimony, I think, was part of that robust preparation. Given that the commission concluded that 50% of the cost could be securitized and the company could pay the other 50% of those costs. I do think that if this case were to be appealed, like OPC appealed previous cases, there would be significant ratepayer impact. The last two securitization cases that were appealed had hearing costs associated with those appeals and had real impacts to ratepayers. So for the Liberty Empire securitization, the carrying cost rate was 4.65%. The appeal took 10 months, and that cost ratepayers an additional $10 million. And the Evergy West securitization cost, the carrying cost rate was 5.06%. That appeal also took 10 months and cost ratepayers over $11 million. The Ameren securitization case, the amount securitized is close to twice as much as the amount securitized in the last cases. And the monthly carrying cost would be almost twice as much to ratepayers if the appeal took the same 10 months as it took in the last two cases, which means it could easily cost this appeal, if it were to be appealed, could easily cost ratepayers over $20 million using that 10-month time frame. If I were Office of Public Counsel, putting myself in the ratepayer shoes, I think it would be in the best interest to not appeal the case for the ratepayer. Given that the last two securitization appeals, the court affirmed the commission's decision. And I think it is grounded in the case record. So with that, I would recommend approving this order, version number 2. Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think your statements, your comments are right on target. I would hope that those listening in on this issue can receive your comments loud and clear. I support the order.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Holzman.
I support the position of the chair.
Commissioner Kolkmeyer.
I agree with all the comments that have been made and support the chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mitchell.
I understand all of your arguments. I think they're well thought out, and I agree with them. However, because I wasn't here for the entire record, I will abstain from this vote.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving this order, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
By a vote of 4 to 0 to 1, that order is approved. That concludes the tariffs and orders for today, but in other discussion, we have our legislative proposals. So if I could invite Lloyd Wilson to the table, Kathleen McNellis, and David Freeman to the table. Lloyd, I might go to you first to explain the Chapter 34 exemption.
All right, very good. Commissioners, the Chapter 34 is a state statute that defines the procurement process for using state monies, and competitive bidding is primarily the part of it. It's not an unreasonable statute. However, the securitization statute that was passed in 2021 authorized the PSC to seek legal counsel and financial advisors for the securitization cases when the utilities want to issue securitized tariff bonds. That statute also, however, put a 215-day limit on those cases. And the state procurement process is not compatible with that. It generally takes 9 months or longer to go through that formal process. So we are seeking again this year an exemption for the securitization advisors from Chapter 34. And we've been able to successfully secure services in the previous cases that we've handled using an attorney general's opinion from, I think this might be go back as far as the 70s, that legal services and expert witnesses are exempt from that process. But we'd like to have a little cleaner process and be able to use our own procurement process to secure these in a competitive way. So that's what Chapter 34 exemption is about. Any questions? Last year, this was part of the omnibus bill that came up at the end of the session, House Bill 1746. It was first in line in the Senate for House bills on third reading, and the Senate wasn't able to get to that. As some of you observed the session last year, they just weren't able to get to that bill. So we'll try it again, if with your approval.
Boyd, I think in my experience with being a contractor to the state, and I think it's under the Brooks Act, exempts professional services of many types from a competitive bidding environment, and that they are typically procured on the basis of best qualified at fair and reasonable prices. So in my mind, I think this makes perfect sense to fall into that category.
I appreciate that, and I would point out that the statute or the piece of legislation that included this Chapter 34 exemption last year doesn't let us do whatever we want to do. It says we will have our process, and we will publicly share that process so people will see what we're doing.
Fell above board.
Absolutely, it'd be a competitive bidding process. We would just have control of the process ourselves and set it away, and we can make it happen a lot quicker.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lloyd? Okay, seeing none. Kathleen, if you wouldn't mind giving us a review of the pipeline safety.
Yes, thank you. We're proposing to amend section 386-572 to increase the maximum penalties for violation of pipeline safety rules. The proposed amendment will increase the maximum amount for each violation and for a related series of violations. The current limits in Missouri statutes are $20,000 per violation, $200,000 for related series. It steps up every so often, and 2025 is one of the years where it does increase to $25,000 per violation and $250,000 for related series. However, that's still less than 10% of the federal limit for, and we're talking maximum limit for penalties, which is currently approximately $266,000 per violation and $2,660,000 for related series. The reason this is needed is that our pipeline safety program operates under a grant and certification from the Federal Department of Transportation. Part of that certification is that our penalties are substantially the same as the federal. So this is something they've put us on notice about for many years now. And in 2025, they have indicated to us that we will not receive a 60105 certification, which is, it's a certification under 49 U.S. Code, section 60105. That particular type of certification allows us not only to, as a state program, inspect the pipeline safety operators in Missouri, but also to enforce compliance with the rules. What they have indicated to us, without that certification in 2025, we would still be able to perform inspections, but enforcement will be done by the U.S. Department of Transportation. They've also indicated that if we can have this legislation passed, where our penalty amounts are substantially the same as federal, we will be granted a 60105 certification. It does have some impact on grant funding as well. We're estimating, and this is kind of ballpark, but we're estimating that we could, under 60105, receive approximately 4% more funding. But that's a good chunk of money, like $30,000 using last year's funding. But I think more significantly is the ability to enforce the state rules. So, any questions?
So fair to say, in the absence of this action, the state, one, loses grant funding, and two, the federal program steps in for enforcement.
Correct.
The fines that if we were to collect any fines, does that go into the Missouri Fine Collections Fund that ultimately goes to the schools?
Under the current 60105 certification, correct. With those that are doing the enforcement, that goes to their general fund, for the federal, not Missouri.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, another reason to have the statute changed. Also, I want to thank the stakeholders who last year helped us try to move this proposal forward for the first time probably in a decade. So I think that with our stakeholders' help and support, we will be successful this year in maintaining or getting back our enforcement authorities. Kathleen, thank you for everything you do for the program. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Freeman, on the manufactured housing proposal.
We are proposing revising the definitions of a dealer, excuse me, to align with the HUD regulations. Basically, our concerns are arising from manufactured home parks and communities that are buying directly from the manufacturers. When these, I don't want to say it, the parks, when they do this, they're not using licensed installers. They're not setting the homes up properly. They're not being anchored. So the homes are currently unsafe that are being set up this way when they don't do that. Same thing when renters go to lease these units, they don't know that they're not set up correctly and they're not tied down correctly. They're just renting them. The argument that the park owners and community owners have is that they don't fall under the current definition of a dealer. So they don't have to be registered with us is the way they're looking at it. So to address all these issues, we were just wanting to make sure that it encompasses all the scenarios and the safety of the manufactured homes when they're set up. I've already made contact with MMHA, Missouri Manufactured Housing Association. They know that I was wanting to change the definition of a dealer. And I've also contacted HUD, and they know that we're wanting to do this. I think mainly one of the main reasons is we want to stay in line with Chapter 700-045. So where it talks about the misdemeanor part for a dealer and a manufacturer to be registered with the commission. So, any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Freeman?
Madam Chair, I have a question. So how does the legislation allow for the PSC to be notified of either placement or the needs for inspection? If we're looking to place these people as dealers, will they have a requirement to inform the PSC every time a new manufactured housing is installed on their property? How will we be able to monitor this?
Commissioner, we get every dealer, part of their requirements is they have to send a property locator into the state of Missouri, or into our office, so that we know that the home is set up and it's ready to be inspected. And then we go inspect them as required.
Do we have a way to make sure that they follow the law by informing us?
Yes, ma'am. They have to, basically, when they have to inform us, and usually they can get fined for not setting their property locators in a timely manner. After that, usually if they have outstanding fines for that, they don't get their license renewed at the end of the year until they pay their fines and turn everything in.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. The last item for today is scheduling. Next week, Monday, August 26th to Thursday, August 29th, we have a series of local public hearings in case GR-2024-0106 in the matter of the request of Liberty Utilities to implement an increase for natural gas service. Those meetings are Monday at noon in Butler, Missouri at the old high school gym. Tuesday, August 27th at 6 p.m. at the Hannibal High School cafeteria. Wednesday, August 28th at noon at the Adair County Courthouse in Kirksville. And then Thursday at noon and 6 p.m. WebEx only. Also next week, we'll have agenda August 28th. We will have that at 9 a.m. to accommodate travel to the local public hearings. Tuesday, September 3rd through Monday, September 9th, we have an evidentiary hearing in two cases, EO-2023-0369 and EO-2023-0370. Evergy, Missouri Metro and Evergy, Missouri West intend to file an application to establish demand-side programs investment mechanisms. Room 310 at 9 a.m. with Judge Clark. Thursday, September 5th, we have agenda at 12 noon to accommodate the holiday and the hearing. Tuesday, September 10th through Wednesday, September 11th, there's local public hearings in case GR-2024-0106, the Liberty Utility case to implement a general rate increase for natural gas service. Those hearings are in Kennett, Missouri at the Kennett City Hall, Tuesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. Wednesday, September 11th at 12 p.m. at the Sykeston City Hall, and Wednesday, September 11th at 6 p.m. at the Cape Girardeau Public Library. We will also have agenda that week, Wednesday, September 11th at 10:15 a.m. and Thursday, September 12th, we'll have an evidentiary hearing in case EO-2024-0194 and the matter of the application of Southway Storage for change of electric supplier from Empire to White River Valley Electric Cooperative in room 310 at 9 a.m. with Judge Hatcher. Commissioners, are there any changes or modifications to the schedule? Are there any other items before the commission today? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.